everybody, Gannon here, back with another Star Trek video. Yes, a Star Trek video. It has been a while. Today we are going to be reviewing the first episode of Season 2 of Lower Decks, and I'm just really looking forward to it. I can just tell you guys plainly that I watched the first episode a little bit ago. I have my notes here in front of me. I'm really excited to share with you what I thought about it. I'll let you know right here, just to preface though, I had a good time. I'm definitely not here to drink the haterade or hate on Lower Decks, because honestly, I'm kind of a Lower Decks stan. Like, I like it. I am not hating Lower Decks at all. It is a weirdly beautiful medium where it's created by people who you can tell are passionate about Star Trek, have watched Star Trek their entire lives. Also, it's beautifully animated. I feel like every episode, the animation just gets better, which for a lot of TV shows, that is just not the case. This is beautifully made. Like, the studio, I used to know what studio is making Lower Decks, but now I don't anymore. They're doing a great job on it. It looks beautiful. The scenes that were just in this episode alone, there was this really cool scene at the end of the episode where Riker and his ship were going through this jump, and it had some little weird trippy effect where they all got a little bit warped and distorted, and it just looked so amazing. But before that, I know I haven't made Star Trek content in a while, and there's just two reasons for that. One, I'm just a little bit burnt out after I got done doing all those reviews, made it my own personal responsibility to at least watch all of Star Trek. That includes like every movie and every episode of every one of the shows at least twice, which for a Star Trek fan, that's like light work. I know there are people who watch the entirety of Star Trek at least once a year, but when I forced myself to watch it like twice, I got a little bit burnt out. I didn't want to watch Star Trek for a while, and it took me like at least a handful of months for me to sit back down in my room and put on an episode of the original series or the next gen and remind myself like why I fucking love Star Trek. And also, Star Trek is so big, you can just kind of take a small break from it, and because you probably start at one series and then end with one of the latter series, if you go back and do a rewatch, it almost feels slightly fresh to you because there are a lot of points that, you know, aren't fresh in your mind, so it's super fun. And then another reason I just have to quickly say why I haven't made any Star Trek content for a while is just that, like, the Star Trek online community, the people who watch the shows, the people who talk on online forums, like, it is so unbelievably toxic. I don't think I've ever experienced a community more toxic than this one. Because of the current climate of Star Trek, the fact that a lot of the Star Trek that is being produced by CBS and Alex Kurtzman right now is very modern, and it has a lot of modern themes and a lot of modern influences that I am not afraid to say that older generations of people who are older than me, are not comfortable with, okay? They see a lot of red flags, they see a lot of things that are new to them, they see a lot of behaviors from these characters that I don't think that they're completely comfortable with just because they're a bunch of fucking red-pilled assholes. Do you know what I mean? These people are just frustrated, like they'll go online and talk the biggest smack about any of these shows with barely watching them. They're probably just going to another red-pilled YouTuber and watching their videos and their headlines and just, this is the worst stuff ever, SJW, garbage. Like, dude, you do realize that you're a fucking idiot, right? And you're like the bottom of the barrel. If you can't look at these shows and objectively like say, hey, that was a weak scene, that's kind of them dropping the ball a little bit, but overall this episode was pretty good. Like, I can understand there are more than a handful of times, and because I'm an honest person, I'm definitely gonna say this, there are more than a handful of times when Kurtzman, Trek, and them drop the ball and they do something absolutely stupid and they deserve to get dissed for it. But there is just way too big of a community online of these red-pilled fucking nerds that just diss the show and just hate on it with no evidence, and they just say blanket statements that don't mean anything just because they want to hate on the show. The only Star Trek show that so far has really been a real big disappointment to me is just the first season of Star Trek Picard. I'm loving Lower Decks. They wrapped it up nicely at the end of season 1 to make it just this awesome thing, and now I'm eating that shit up. I can't wait to see more of Riker, and I can't wait to see more of Boimler and Mariner and the rest of the crew. Like, I actually like them at this point. And these people who, like, are super angry and just will shit on anything just because they like shitting on stuff, they're the biggest cucks ever. Like, these are the same people who are still willing to pay CBS and just watch the show every week to, I don't know, hate on it. I don't understand. These people just need to be doing like way more productive things with their lives. I have to admit it though, in my last episode that I did, my last review, I think it was on the season finale of Star Trek Discovery Season 3. Season 3 was easily its weakest season, and the final episode was okay. But I remember I was like hastily trying to get the video out because when you're making Star Trek reviews, reviews, it honestly feels like you're in a personal race every evening with Jessie Gender to see who can get the fucking Star Trek review out first. I don't know how she gets them out so fast. She's a wizard. She's obviously like way better at articulating her words and her feelings about Star Trek than I am, because I'm fucking stupid, could barely talk, so I definitely need to take time to like cut and edit my stuff. So I feel like that day I was way too in a hurry to get the episode out, and I was way too over influenced by the fact that Burnham was made captain, and then also that they all got new uniforms, because honestly the only thing really you need to put in front of my face to give me a fucking rock hard dick is a new Star Trek uniform. I love whenever they get new uniforms, and Kurtzman Trek has kind of done this best. Kurtzman Trek has a lot of different looks, a lot of different uniforms, and we could personally thank the costume designer Gersha Phillips. Like, I definitely know her by name because of how much I admire and rep her costumes. So yeah, I got way too excited. I said that the episode was like kind of good, above average, which it was good, but honestly, because I was so excited about those things, it made me overlook all the just obvious do-wangs that were in the episode. Like the fact that Book was able to take control of the ship and jump was just so corny, and it makes me dislike Book's character even more. Like, his character is already shallow enough for him to have like this like ability that comes from his race where he's able to interact with animals and everything, and then they use that to like jump ship. And I'm pretty sure that scene where they were forced to jump the ship, like I don't know if this for sure, I need to go back and watch it, but I'm pretty sure the way I felt when I rewatched it was that Burnham was kind of putting the ship in unnecessary danger. Like, she did not need to put it in that situation where it was like, oh, explode or no explode, and it was just a little bit way too dramatic, and I guess I didn't really need it. And then also, guys, the fucking USS Discovery is not the TARDIS, okay? You're not going to have a turbo lift scene where the inside of the Discovery is just way bigger than it actually is. You guys are taking fat L's when you do that, and that episode deserved a lot more criticism than I gave it in that review. Sorry for ranting for so long. I'm not a good YouTuber, and like, it takes me a while to get to the source material. Let's just get to the actual review now. So this episode starts off with Mariner in this program. She is like doing some espionage, trying to escape from this Cardassian facility that's filled with a bunch of cool ships, by the way, when she's almost out and she's taking that one Cardassian lady hostage and she's getting up into the Federation ship. I'm pretty sure that's a Nebula class, but I could be wrong. There was just a whole bunch of other different ships in there. I'm pretty sure I saw Dominion, like Romulan. It's always cool getting to see the Cardassian ships, by the way. I love their design, and obviously this show is so beautifully animated that it's cool seeing like anything, especially the ships. I just love the way the show is drawn. It's fucking sick. So in this program, Mariner actually has a little bit of self-reflection. She talks with this like Boimler hologram and talks about how she feels slightly abandoned by Boimler, but at the same time, like, she didn't really treat Boimler all that well, so it perhaps slightly deserved, but it is a little bit fucked up. Like, I don't care what kind of relationship you have with Mariner, it's always a good idea to say goodbye. I get really salty when somebody I care about doesn't say goodbye to me like they forget to. They go down to this planet, okay, and it has these people, their race is called the Apricosians. I wrote this down, I just trying to decipher, I guess, what they're called from what I managed to write down while watching the episode. They like numbers, and they want their numbers to have gravitas, which means that it has meaning to them, and it's something that they could be proud of, or something that it can be like admired. They just want everything to have like a specific numbers. They really care about numbers. The whole thing this episode is that Mariner needs to come to terms with the fact that her new dynamic with her mother is not working. The fact that they're like psychic and they're working together is just inappropriate, and neither of them really like it, we learn by the end of the episode. Basically, like, Captain Mariner is letting actual young Beckett Mariner do whatever she wants because it's just being sanctioned by her, and you learn that that doesn't always work out, because in this episode when Mariner was trying to clean these historic walls and these historic buildings, she unmasked this dust that was on this gem, and then light from the sun came down, and then it blasted Jack Ransom with this strange energy. And then, oh my gosh, just a beautiful big TOS reference this episode. I loved how much they were referencing Where No Man Has Gone Before. Pretty sure Where No Man Has Gone Before was like one of the original pilot episodes of Star Trek. They even put Gary Mitchell on the view screen and like referred to him as Gary Mitchell. I was just so excited. That was so cool to me. I love how much they're referencing and like showing love to the original series, and that episode is just one of the coolest episodes of Star Trek of all time because there's so many weird little canon differences and mistakes in it because it's the pilot episode, and Trek really didn't find its kind of consistent identity until at least season 2 of the original series, you know what I mean? It kind of did near towards the end of season 1, like I get that, but it didn't really get that true identity that it could hold on to and be consistent till season 2. Also, if you remember, Where No Man Has Gone Before, that was the only time in the entirety of the TOS where they showed off a pulse rifle, which is kind of cool. I do have, let me get it real quick. I have a little replica of the pulse rifle. It came with my Captain Kirk McFarlane Toys figure that I highly treasure. Jack gets pumped full of strange energy and he becomes this godlike being, and he just wants to, you know, do godlike stuff. Funnily enough, one of his main priorities is the fact that he just wants to turn everybody into the planet into like images of him and make them all Chad jocks and make them want to work out and stuff, which I thought was pretty funny. Also, we have the usual Tendi Rutherford split arc. The way this show usually runs is that we get the Mariner, Boimler, and her mom show that goes this way, and then Tendi and Rutherford are like the other side of that where they go off and do their own thing in the episode. And in this episode, Tendi gets comically obsessed over the fact that Rutherford might possibly have a brain degradation in his like cyborg implant thing, when in reality it's just quite possible that she's slightly jealous of the fact that Rutherford is going on multiple dates with another girl. Like, that is like the true end motive, but you learn at the end of this episode that the way Tendi was feeling was that she was a little bit upset with how many opinions that Rutherford was changing. She was worried that it might change his feelings about her and that like they wouldn't be friends anymore. But also she is a little bit jealous of like Rutherford's date because, you know, Tendi has an obvious crush on Rutherford. They are OTP. Definitely shipping those two for sure. I think they're adorable. Also, I love how much the Cation doctor was hustling to save the day in this episode. She actually jumped on Jack Ransom and was trying to hypospray him. I always love when the doctors hustle. I love that the cat doctor is hilarious and that she's also doing appropriate Star Trek doctor things and she's just not like a dumbass crew member. Also, Tendi is definitely supposed to be an OCD insert. I have real OCD. Like, I do real weird stuff. My room needs to be cleaned or I can't function. And Tendi is just showing like clear obsessive compulsive disorder. She is truly obsessive. Like, when she makes her mind about something, like she made up her mind about the fact that Rutherford was possibly sick and that he was changing his opinions and changing his feelings, she became so compulsive and obsessed about helping him to the point where she was almost willing to hurt him. So that's cool. Nice to see that kind of like mental disorder insert. I don't even know if you could call OCD like a mental disorder. I don't know. I'm not educated. Don't yell at me. Jack Ransom grows into a god giant head and then tries to turn the planet and its people into jocks, like I've mentioned. All right, my camera just died, so that's it like subconsciously telling me that I need to get this shit on the road. So I think where I left off was that I was talking about how like Jack, Mariner, and also the captain were having this three-way conversation on the ship, and like even for a cartoon, this conversation is slightly inappropriate to be having on the bridge of a starship. Like, that's a little bit crazy. I get that this is the Cerritos guys and that we're a little bit different and we like to goof around and we're like the shit stain of the Federation, but this is still like kind of mad inappropriate to be doing on the bridge of a starship. The bridge of a starship is like kind of a big deal. I would like to probably have Captain Mariner be a little bit more strict about stuff like that in the future. Also, oh my gosh, it had me so weak how the Cation doctor, and I will remind myself her name next review. Don't worry, we're just being a little bit lazy today, guys. I was so weak about how adamant she was on getting the boulder and throwing it on Jack, and I was also just absolutely dying at the fact that she managed to do it by the end of the episode. She got a forklift with a boulder on it. I loved how adamant she was on throwing a boulder on that dude. That was just so funny. And the episode basically ends with Mariner having to kick Ransom in the balls into submission, and then yeah, yeah, they throw a boulder on top of them and everything ends hunky-dory. They have the little understanding through the three-way call where it finally comes clean that both Captain Mariner and Beckett Mariner are just completely unhappy with this current dynamic that they have, and that it's time to get rid of it. And then Tendi and Rutherford had a little bit of a heart-to-heart as well, and Tendi just had to come clean and basically talk about why she was exhibiting those compulsive behaviors, because she was really worried about her friendship and her future with Rutherford. So that was really sweet, that was nice. And then, of course, Rutherford just coming in really clean with the fact that at the end of the episode, he was just like, fuck pears. I thought that was so funny. I couldn't control myself when Rutherford said fuck pears. I lost it. My camera's about to die again, and I just kind of need to wrap this up. I ranted too much today, guys. I'm sorry. Next review will be better, I'm sure. I just need to get into practice. I'm a little bit out of practice. This episode gets a solid 7.5 out of 10 for me. Super solid start. I have no complaints. If anything, I just feel like this season is just going to be better and stronger than the last one. We're just going to keep on going. We're just going to keep on trucking with Lower Decks, and I like it. It's a really good Star Trek cartoon with a good cast. It's beautifully animated, and they don't really do stuff to piss me off that often. If anything, they really just do a bunch of stuff that hypes me up, like making the Titan and Riker commanding it canon, giving it like a canon design, and actually seeing him do goofy shit on the bridge of his starship is just like, I'm high on life when I see that. So for all those reasons, I'm super stoked about we're going to be like seeing Star Trek Lower Decks. With all that being said, guys, hope my first review of this Star Trek upcoming season wasn't too atrocious. If you like the video, be sure to slap a like on it. If you're seeing any content on the channel that you find interesting, I'd be super flattered if you were to subscribe. I'm trying really hard to get to 1,000 subscribers. It's like a dream for me, so anybody who could help me get there, I really appreciate the hell out of you. And with all that being said, guys, my camera is so totally going to die, so I'm gonna have to see you guys in the next one. Live long and prosper.